No, welcome to Conversations with Deborah, a bi-coastal dialogue brought to you on malcolmpresents.com. A new, it actually it's not new, it's about a year and a half, a new a streaming platform
It's an
on the
innovative
internet.
streaming platform.
Right. With a lot of opinions and comments that you're not going to be hearing on the other stations because we're not controlled. We can say what we want because the millions of dollars aren't flowing our way.
That's right.
As a matter of fact, if there's somebody that wants to control our speech, I'm not above being bought. I don't know about you, Deborah, but I'm not, I'm not above being bored. I won't say the wrong things, but I might not express, my opinion.
Well, look at it this way. How many Mercedes can you drive, for heaven's sakes, Malcolm? So you might as well not be bought off.
Yeah, but I can have my Mercedes for me, my Mercedes for my wife, my Mercedes for one Mercedes for two kids.
There you go.
Mercedes each. I know my brother-in-law would love for me to buy him a Mercedes and his wife.
There we go.
I have two kids. Probably about 10, 15 Mercedes.
There we go. Anyway, good afternoon, Malcolm. How are you today?
Pretty good. At least over here, it's actually the weather is good. It's going to get hot this weekend.
Uh-oh. What are you up to? Okay. Well, we're in the midst of a heat wave, but of course that's very typical for South Carolina. Hi, I'm Deborah Manning, and I'm a native Southern Californian. Used to be a news reporter back then in LA and also down in San Diego and into Orange County, and left to become a residential lending officer as well as a banker, did a lot of commercial banking and what have you. So I've had an interesting career and moved back here to South Carolina, to Greenville, about 7 years. We're coming up to about 7 years now. We're in the midst of a big heat wave. And of course, I'm a weather junkie. So we have a weather station that it measures the temperature and of course the wind speed and all of that. Well, I just before we went on the air, I decided, well, I'll just take kind of a look-see because FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Agency, said there's got to be a heat alert. You could go up to 105 or 102 or whatever the case may be. No, we're up to 114 degrees, feels like heat because of the humidity. Wow. So I'm laughing only because, once again, I'm in my Hawaiian shirt. Okay, and I'm in my short shorts, so we're perfectly fine in here. And all of the cats, we have 6 cats here in South Carolina who adopted us when we got here, and all 6 of those cats are inside sipping lemonade, their mint juleps, and enjoying the air conditioning. So we're perfectly fine.
Give your cats haircuts?
No, actually, but I do give them manicures, because I want to make sure that their little paws, their little claws do not attack one another or redesign the furniture.
Or they curl up.
Yeah, absolutely. So what do you want to talk about today?
Well, actually what I was thinking about, well, the first thing I want to cover what's happening with the stock market, because as I said, my friend Barbara, you are the person that she listens to, and she knows that you're not a broker, and but she every once in a while when I'm speaking to her, she said, oh, well, I forgot what stock you had recommended, or it was a course or something with a bank, and she said, oh yeah, that's not doing too badly, or that went down a point,
So well, it's very interesting. We're now on the 3rd day of the stock market being up. So we've had basically about 6 weeks of the stock market being down, and primarily because of the worry about inflation. Of course, as you realize, the consumer spending makes up 70% of the American economy. And it appears as though the consumer is getting a little tired, however, is now resorting to, of all things, credit cards. You and I have talked about on a practical basis, and I hope all the listeners are listening. If you're going to use your credit cards, for heaven's sakes, pay those puppy dogs off on a regular basis, because you cannot be assured that those interest rates, while they may be at 24, 25%, aren't going to go higher, because once again, banks take that opportunity because they talk about recession and inflation to raise those rates even higher. So take advantage. If you have balance transfers, use those balance transfers. That's what we've been doing to be able to peter out that payback for anywhere from 6 months to a year and what have you. But the stock market is doing okay. I'm waiting, and I've bought a couple of various stocks. And at this point right now, how does inflation look? Well, interestingly enough, the stock market was happy with the jobs report. I think it came out with, what was it, 375 in terms of new jobs. If you look a little deeper, however, the resignation rate was 372 million people resigned. So maybe that 375 was people quitting and then finding another job. So those numbers could be a little suspicious, but once again, I stay optimistic.
Yeah, but we have the highest job rate or percentage in the last 40 years.
Well, we're still unfortunately below pre-pandemic.
No, it's not according to what Biden said today.
Oh.
So I don't know whose numbers he uses, but according to him, we're above, we are pre-pandemic.
Well, if you listen to Bloomberg and you listen to CNBC, you listen to Fox Business, and some of the economists, they're disagreeing with the dear president on those particular numbers. But once again, I always try and look on the positive side of things because I enjoy investing. Once again, I sold off all of our stocks at the beginning of this year. The stock market, of course, the Dow Jones went down almost, I think it was down to about 25%. NASDAQ went down about 30%, and the S&P went down about 24%. So are we on the cusp of it coming back up again? Once again, I think you just need to do some careful picking and choosing. I'm about ready to get back into Microsoft. I like their numbers. I'm about ready to get back into Amazon again. But once again, I'm just going to kind of hold off and kind of wait. Once again, I am not an investment advisor whatsoever. But what I'm looking at is if the recession starts to hit, what company doesn't need to go to the bank on bended knees to ask for operating capital? Microsoft doesn't. They've got a debt service. Their debt is like about 30%, 31%, which means they don't need to go trotting off to the bank. They also have excellent cash flow. The situation with Amazon, once again, now they have been, they split on a 20-to-1 basis about a month ago, and they've been going down ever since. I think they've been oversold because once again, I do think that the cloud portion of Amazon, the AWI, I think it's called, is going to hold that company together with a lot of revenue. So I'm looking at kind of those two stocks. And the one that I did buy that maybe Barbara would, I think that there's a uranium mining company that I picked up. I didn't put a lot of money into it, for heaven's sakes. You don't need to put in scads of cash, but if you've got a couple of $100, what the hell? Why not?
It doesn't cost you anything. But what I look at is, companies, when I speak to Barbara, I look at companies, I don't know their financial backgrounds, but I know, do they have services that people want to buy? And I know the thing which I was, like Amazon. I mean, to me, Amazon is a great company. I have I don't know anything about their books, their profits and losses. All I know is that you want to buy something, you call Amazon, and the next day it's delivered. And if you have, which we buy the TV services, it doesn't cost anything. I mean, I almost feel like, my wife calls Amazon, she hangs up, and all of a sudden the doorbell rings. And it's Amazon delivering. It's like they're floating around.
Well, that's, and once again, when you're choosing and looking at various companies and various stocks to purchase, that kind of analysis is critical. So your story is very much the keystone to good, solid investing. The only thing I would have you do is, for example, I use Fidelity as a service. It's a zero commission situation. But they can give you what the profit margin is of Amazon, and they can also give you what the debt service is. Watch out for debt services that are above 50%, because that means that they're going to have to go, that company is going to have to go on bended knee to a bank to try and somehow get money from the banks. And the banks are going to get very, very stingy. I have to tell you. I have to tell you.
Well, I think they can look more carefully at the, the ability to pay back.
Absolutely.
And
And it
another
comes with
thing
cash flow.
which I'm pro for is Netflix. I think any of the good services, the app services, or for entertainment, people are more and more, they're not going out that much because of, we'll get that in a minute, the new strains of the virus, but
Yeah.
people are watching TV more, and I don't know if you can call it TV because it's really not TV. It's like what we're doing on the, we're streaming.
Yeah.
But I very rarely watch, aside from possible sports.
Mhm.
I very rarely watch a regular TV. I watch Netflix, I watch Hulu, I watch Prime Ticket.
Yep.
I watch all my series there because some of them I'm watching this thing called The Split,
Mhm.
which is a British series. It's in the third year, and it's better than anything that's on regular American TV.
Yeah, we're watching Endeavor, which of course was the prequel to Sergeant Morse, which was a big hit on PBS. We're also, I was looking at Netflix. I think the problem that I have with Netflix is I want to have more feel-good programming. We've been through hell with this COVID situation. We've been shut up. I don't need to see more violence. I don't need to see more desperate people. I want to see basically stuff. I want to hear a good story. I want good characters, good character development. That's what I want.
Two stories that you might like. It's more with sports, and I'm forgetting the name of them. One of them is about this basketball player.
Okay.
It's called it's Giannis. I can't even pronounce his last name. It's a Greek name.
Okay.
But basically, they're not Greek. Well, he was born in Greece, but his family fled Nigeria, and they went into Turkey, and they were illegal in Turkey, and then they got into Greece, and he turned into, right now he's probably like arguably who's possibly the best basketball player there is right now. Him and his two brothers,
Fabulous.
and three of them became pros.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a story of how the family stuck together, how the family remained loyal to each other.
Mm-hmm. And that's what I want to see.
And it's a real feel-good type of movie. And another one is the one with Adam Sandler, who's a scout, basketball scout, and how he goes to Europe. And it's a feel-good movie.
What's the name of the movie? Any idea?
I'm blanking. It's like Rush or something like that.
Cool. But I mean, that's the sort of stuff that I think that Netflix really wants to go with. When I looked at Netflix this last, say 3 or 4 months ago, because we were subscribers until I decided, forget it. I don't want to, I'm tired of the violence. I'm tired of the dysfunctional people. I'm tired of listening to people ranting and raving. I want positive stuff because we've been through a lot. We've just been through a lot, and we're about ready to go through a lot more.
I forget who was saying this, but they were talking about the prevalence of guns in movies, and well, aside from the fact you can't control the games that kids play, but as far as the movies, it's more of a control. How many, like we had it years ago with the cigarettes, everybody was smoking. You look at movies from the 40s and 50s before the regulations, everybody had a cigarette in their hand.
Yep.
I mean, the typical bogey, a real romantic one was with I forget, with Paul Heinrich and Bette Davis. Now Voyager. I don't know if you remember that movie, but one of the romantic scenes were when he would take a cigarette, he would take 2 cigarettes out, light both of them, and give the one to his date.
But you're right. It's very funny. I'm a gun owner, a very proud gun owner, and I'm licensed and trained and all of that. But I'm tired of seeing the gun violence. I don't want to see it anymore on TV. I really don't. Although I look at it on Endeavor, because Endeavor is talking about the solving murder cases in England in the 1960s. But it's not the key to all of the theme. And that's why I say I've been staying away from Netflix until they start to get with it. They've laid off, I think, about a third of their people, and they're starting to now look at the driving business, which is, I think, once again, what we're talking about here. Feel good series that show people coping and making changes and making positive changes in their lives. I mean, that's what I want.
That's,
So,
well, I think Netflix, part of the problem is they were paying, it was a production problem. Number one, they were paying too much for what they were showing.
yeah.
And number two, they were trying to find, they were thinking about doing several tiers. Right now, you don't pay anything for no commercials.
Yep.
Now they're thinking about charging more for that service, and we're having put commercials in the shows and not charging at all, or charging less. But I don't know. I'm not used to commercials anymore.
I know.
I mean, I like going through it, but with right now, even with the before the show, I was listening to the news about this new variant of the virus. I think the B.54, B.5,
Whatever. Yeah.
and it's supposed to be highly contagious.
Mhm.
And even if it's reinfected people who've had COVID.
And also, so apparently people who have had the vaccination.
Vaccine.
So that now begs the entire question: why are we, for example, in the military, firing military personnel who refuse to take the vaccination? So that's a real problem. It's a real problem.
Supposedly a lot milder. It's a lot, people aren't dying. There might be a certain percentage.
But then my question remains: why is the news media and why is the Biden administration fear mongering? Why are they scaring the holy bejesus out of people again? We've been through a lot, Malcolm. We've been through a heck of a lot.
Yeah, but
we need to deal with this.
But it might not be fear. It might be the fact that people think it's over, and it's really not over, and they're exposing themselves to more and more crowds.
So then what do they want us to do differently? Not go into crowds?
Yeah, well, not go into many crowds, but also take it, the injections, be vaccinated, and also be wary, be cautious.
Well, of course, I think we don't have to worry about going into crowds because the gasoline prices are enough to stop us square in our tracks. Did you realize a report just came out? You and I talked about this prior to what's going on the air, but did you realize a report just came out this morning that President Biden, of course, talked about releasing oil from the strategic petroleum reserves. And in fact, he did. I think over 280 million barrels that he did. Do you realize that 5 million barrels of that oil, that strategic petroleum reserve, went to, of all places, wait for it, China. So what in the dickens are we doing sending stuff to China when I understand next week that our dear president is going to be going to Saudi Arabia on bended knee once again, and asking for oil from Saudi Arabia? What the devil is going on?
Well, sometimes you have to make pacts with other countries or enemies that are beneficial to us.
Well, then why would you send your oil to China?
I haven't heard that, so I don't know. Let me read upon it and hear the news, and then we'll speak next week about it.
Well, if that is the case, why do you suppose that happened? Is it possible? And once again, as an investigative news reporter, I look and want to stay on both sides of the story and look at both sides. But is it possible that President Biden owes something to China? And now are we starting to see that? Apparently, the Treasury Department is no longer going to be releasing to Congress, who does oversight, a series of what's called suspicious activity reports. When I was in banking with Bank of America and with American Savings, when there was a $10,000 limit as to money going in and money going out. You had a suspicious activity report. Now things have changed, obviously, because it's been a number of years since I've been in banking. But there's 150 of those suspicious activity reports on a whole variety of banks that are tied to Hunter Biden and to his brother, not Hunter's brother, but to Joe Biden's brother. Now, what in the world is going, why would they change the rules? Why would there be suspicious activity reports? Why would they not want to go ahead and reveal that information?
Okay,
Any idea?
Yeah, because they're making billions of dollars for it. They're totally corrupt. And he was in power, since he was vice president. And he actually is an agent. I'm going to do I'm working on the movie script that he is the agent, for China. And there's a direct conflict with him and Trump, because Trump is the agent for Russia. So they're both representing two different, enemies.
In office that's representing Americans,
You-
normal
you-
everyday
you-
Americans.
You know something? There's so much false information out there. You don't know who to trust. I mean,
Mhm.
literally. I mean, I was reading, which I was surprised at Facebook.
Mm.
They were doing a whole thing with, I forgot it was under something called CARE. There was like about 15 people had written in there of how the vaccine adversely affected friends or people they know. And it was,
Okay.
literally, it was, I would never take that vaccine because I have a friend that, have heart congestion because of that, who had, leukemia, who died, and you're looking and you go, oh my God. I mean, I'm sure there are some people who have adverse effects, but I mean, they're making it seems like, oh, this is the worst thing that ever happened to America, where we're becoming sheep and we're following we're going to the slaughter. I mean, there's
Well,
so much false information. Like, I have no idea about the Russia things with the Chinese, but
Chinese.
there's so much misinformation about Biden and Hunter Biden. So also separate information about Trump, except that I believe.
Oh, you do not, for heaven's sakes. One of the reasons that Malcolm and I do talk about that, we've been friends for 20 plus years. And I think it's very important that we as normal everyday Americans, we find some common ground to be able to begin a conversation. We need to bring America back again. And I'm very, very concerned because the inflation situation is hitting very, very hard middle class and lower middle class individuals. I mean, this gasoline situation, there's now evidence that some of the lower classes, 10 to 15% of their overall paycheck is going towards gasoline. I don't know how people are surviving. And at this point right now, there was a statistic that came out, I believe it was from Gallup this last week, that said 88% of Americans say that we're on, quote unquote, the wrong track. I think we might be on the wrong track. I'm not sure how we get back onto the right track. I know for myself, I made application to a number of the various commissions that are here in Greenville. The Historic Society, I'm going to be part of the commission there, and maybe it's part of the Planning Commission, because I think it's important that we, as individual Americans, become more involved with our local politics. That's where it all begins.
Well,
And
what I feel is partly wrong with our society. There's a Yiddish expression
what's
called
that?
Ungerstützt.
Ungerstadt.
Ungerstützt.
I like-
Ungerstützt means you have a lot of everything.
Yeah.
Part of our civilization, our country, is that we don't realize what we have. I mean, again, we're talking about cable TV and TV.
Right on.
I would say the people everybody that I know has cable television.
Yep.
They don't only have the basic stations. I think everybody that I know has a cell phone.
Yep.
And the cell phone, they have the unlimited data, unlimited calls. Yeah. Sometimes, when we're in a state like this, people have to tighten their belt and they don't want to do it. They want to eat the best food. They want to go out to the restaurant and have the wine. we've gotten spoiled in a way. I understand
Well,
people who,
that's only the politicians, the ones in New York and Illinois and Michigan and California. Those are the ones that are going out to the fancy restaurants.
no, I'm talking about, and forget about the fancy restaurant. The fancy restaurants are over, $100 a plate.
No kidding.
I'm talking about the diners that you can go to that, but you don't have to. You can go home, you can buy the food and cook. You can go over to Costco.
Yeah, we don't go out anymore.
And you buy the wine. You can get like a
Yep.
decent bottle of wine for $5 for the whole bottle. You go out to a restaurant, you get a wine. It's $8 to $10 for the house pour.
Yeah,
For one
actually at
glass.
Ingles, which we actually are able to walk to at this point right now, I can get some great wine for $3 a bottle. Everybody laughs it off. Of course, I decant it in something that looks far more expensive, but sure
Right.
tastes fine.
So people are unwilling to tighten their belt. I could see if somebody needs the money for the house, for the rent, but what they do, or for the basic food. But if you don't have money for the basic food, there's something called EBT, which is the old food stamps.
Mhm.
And it's not that hard. We have to call up on the phone and do. So you call up on the phone. You spend, even if you have to spend 2-3 hours on the phone one day or
But
2
all of
days,
this-
and you're getting a few $100s worth of food for free.
But all of this is completely unnecessary. Why are we going through this? For what reason?
Well, as far as I know, I have no idea. If I knew it, I'd be running. I'd be running for president. I don't know the answer. I know the things that I know is that we are no longer, for me, it's not America first, it's the world first. I'm going to be doing a new show. It's called, I think it might be entitled We the World. And basically, what I'm going to be doing is talking about different groups throughout the world that is trying to make things better for the people.
Mhm.
For whether it be for ecology, for food, for water. And I just had actually the second meeting, because with that group, we the world is a group already working with them. I want to do the media portion of that, but we had a meeting over the internet. It was me in Los Angeles, a volunteer that we have that's in Walnut Creek, California, another volunteer they have in Nigeria, and another person I'm working with in Ohio. And we're doing this all over the Zoom on the internet. But basically, what affects us affects the world. I get upset when people say, "Oh, we need this for our country." No, we need this for the world. The world is the place that we live in right now. It's our planet. If we don't do something for our planet, it's going to be a disaster. Why do we have problems with immigration? Why are people coming here? Because it's untenable to live in other parts of the world. We're going to have a mass migration from Africa. Why? Because there's no water there. There's no food there. People have to move. And where do they move? They move the countries that have it. And us as a country, I mean, we have the asylum type of thing. If people have a legitimate reason for coming here.
And all I want them to do is to go through the course of entry, and I want them to come through legitimately. This whole situation where we have a flood on the border, it's just completely untenable. Because guess what? Here in South Carolina, we're now starting to see the overnight airport transports coming in to the airports here, and we're now starting to feel it. Unfortunately, what's now happening is the state and the county are now responsible for making sure that these individuals have the welfare food that they need, have the welfare lodging that they need, and what have you. That's all good. The only problem is, why is our standard of living, why are we suffering with $4.50 gas? I mean, thank God it's gone down 50 cents a gallon. But the problem seems to be, why in the world did we go ahead and turn off and declare war on fossil fuels when we did not have and still don't have a reliable source of energy? Why would we do this?
Okay. We was just, the US government just turned down a proposal, the Build Back Better proposal that Biden had, which basically had money to invest on alternative fuels. It's not that, I mean, I granted you can't turn it off before you start doing it, before you start looking for alternatives, but
But he did. But
we're not investing in alternatives.
But he
The
turned
Congress,
off the faucet completely.
but the Congress itself is, get rid of all of them. I don't care if you're Republican or Democrat, get rid of all of them because it's not working.
Well, that will be changing. That will be changing dramatically in November.
Yeah, November, yeah. So we'll be working in the opposite way that we want.
Well, when you
Yeah,
have
they're not gonna, who are
when
the
you have
people
these
that,
approval rates at this point right now, people are angry at Biden. I know here a lot of Democrats who put Biden actually back into the running, thanks to James Clyburn down on the in Columbia and also down in Charleston. A lot of those Democrats are really regretting their vote, terribly regretting their vote.
well, I'm not regretting the vote. I couldn't see our country be much worse off if there was Trump would be the president. Now, I'm not
Well, we
necessarily,
didn't have this kind of inflation, my dear. We at least were able to afford food and we were able to afford gasoline.
you had worse. You could afford gasoline, so you could go driving around someplace, which you didn't have to go. But the world itself would be a worse place. I mean, he's the one that wanted to do away with NATO. It wasn't necessarily. But anyway, let's not get to that. The question is, our government isn't doing anything, Republicans and Democrats. And one of the reasons that the people are coming in the way they are is because we have no immigration policy.
Yep.
They have to wait someplace else.
Well, they're not waiting someplace else, my dear.
Well, they're not, because that's why the illegals are coming in, because we have no control of it. But that's not Biden's fault. It's the fault of.
Well, I think when you invite people to come across the border, when they said, and he essentially said, even during the debates, come on down, everybody. And that's exactly, they're wearing Biden T-shirts and they're saying,
And who,
thank you for the invitation.
Who bought them the Biden T-shirts? The Republican Party.
No, are you joking? Yes. They're coming in from El Salvador in Guatemala.
In Guatemala, I talked to a guy in Guatemala. He says, "Oh yeah, one of the big time Republicans came and gave me a whole box load of T-shirts to sell." No, I mean, right. in seriousness, I think that's misinformation, because again, I've heard Biden say, "No, the borders aren't open." I've heard him, on television.
I'm tired of the gaslighting. I'm tired of the lies. Just own up to the fact that it's Biden's inflation. It's not Putin's, it's Biden's inflation. And you know what? We deserve better. We don't need to suffer the way we're suffering this way. We need to be the leaders of the world, and we're not. We're not.
Something, I don't know anybody that's suffering. I know that they're tightening the belt, that it costs more for gasoline. I don't know anybody that is starving. Do you know anybody even in your area that's starving? That's
actually
they're starving.
Yeah, we've got food centers that are opening up at this point right now. You bet.
Well, there were always food centers. Anyway, I hate to tell you this, but you probably heard my beep beep beep. The show's
I heard the beep beep beep. So we agree that the government needs to be changed. We disagree as to what the source is of inflation. And I'm hearing from you that you feel as though inflation is at times a good thing. And you and I disagree.
I think we're not dying from the inflation. I think that the American public is not willing to tighten their belt and do without certain things that they've gotten used to doing with.
And then lastly, tell Barbara, keep holding on to her cash. There will be an opportunity here. It'll be interesting to see exactly when it's going to take place, but there are opportunities out there in the stock market.
Well, my last message to the public is buy low, sell high.
Bravo.
Next week, kid.
All right, sounds good.
Send my love to Fish.
I will. My love to Anna. Bye-bye.